Hello and welcome to the part 2 of day 12 of the Advent of Course 2021. If we did part 1, this part is actually very simple. The only change now is that we do not want to count the lowercase caves, so the nodes that are completely lowercase, only once, but we can accept to have them twice, but not more than twice. So essentially, we can simply keep the solution we had for part 1, so this thing, and change a bit the part in which we check that the candidate next is in the path only once, and change the condition to check that is there at most twice. So here we say that path.count candidate next. Count is simply telling us how many times it appears in there. Is at most 2, so is greater than 1. So we say, okay, if there is more than one presence of the candidate in the path, please ignore it. Otherwise, we can simply keep adding. So we simply changed this small part of the problem. Now we can run again, and the solution now is it should be immediate. If it's not running, it means that probably there is some issue. Interesting. So maybe there is some error, I think. So either there are too many solutions or there are infinite solutions. I suspect that there is some issue with the problem. So, okay, let it run. A single small cave can be visited at most twice. Ah, okay, sorry. I didn't read well the problem. Only one cave can be visited twice. Okay, so this is quite different. Stop. Okay, so if the candidate is lowercase, we now need to do something stranger. So we need to check how many times every lowercase candidate is in the solution. So that's annoying. How do we do it? I would say we just create a counter. So we say we use my favorite Python collection, the counter. So from collections import counter, and here we create a counter. So we say c equal counter of path. What we have to do now is to check whether there is some element in here which is lowercase and appears more than once. If there is, then we continue, we just skip it. Otherwise, we can afford to add this element to the path. So we count what we have here, then we say for edge count in c.items, we say that if the edge is lower and the count is greater than 1, it means we found a case in which this path already has a duplicated element, so we just ignore it. So if count is lower and and candidate next in path, because if it's not in the path, we do not have to worry about it. We only have to worry if there is already one. So we say, okay, if is lowercase and is already there, we have to check whether there is already some other lowercase element that is there more than once. If it happens, we break, and then we use the else of the for. The else of the for is invoked when the for was not broken, which means that nobody did a break. So we can now afford to add this element to the path because it's the only case in which this is valid. So we append this thing. So to recap, we change a bit this condition. We say that if the candidate, if this is a lowercase element and is already there, we have to check whether there is some other element that is already in the path that is lowercase and appears more than once. If there is, we stop. Otherwise, we can afford to add this element to the list. Yeah. Okay. So this sounds like a decent solution. Sorry, I didn't read well the problem. Okay, maybe I shouldn't print all this stuff. This seems to be the solution. And that's it, yes. Can we improve it? Yes, we can improve it a bit. So first of all, I cannot print the solutions, all of them, because it's quite pointless at this moment. There are too many, so nobody's going to read or understand them. And a thing we can do to avoid copy pasting all this code is to put this limit, this 1, as a parameter of the problem. So we can say that so let's start by committing this version. We can say that day 12 is done. I can commit. Complete day 12. Now we can copy paste all this thing. No, let's say the copy paste all this thing and call it count paths. So count paths, we get the edges and we return all the things. So this is the solution. But in addition, we also have the lowercase repetitions, which will be an integer. And is the value that goes here. So now part 1, so if we run it now, we get 2 values. Now part 1 will call the, what is the name, count paths with the edges and 0 possible repetitions. And part 2 we do exactly the same but with 1 possible repetition. So we simply avoided copying the code. So part 2 is here, 1 repetition, and run again. What is the error here? Ah yes, I'm not passing the edges, sorry. I run it, and I get exactly the same solution. So we found a way to essentially avoid the repetitions. So thank you for watching and see you tomorrow hopefully. Bye!